Welcome, everybody. It is January 23rd, and it is a busy, busy AV News Day. And of course, we're going to come live for the first time in a long time. Myself, Jenny Hicks, we're here today to do our Midwich Live. We have some great guests, but more importantly, the load of news that we have going into ISE is earth-shattering.
Yeah, but we're not the first ones to release it, which is really irritating. So,
Yeah.
we had hoped, based on how long it takes from maybe releasing a press release to the AV press picking up the announcement, that we might have a breaking news story, but we have been beaten to it by a commercial integrator, which is fine. So some of you may already know this, but I would have thought, I haven't seen anything in the UK or European press yet, so it's brand new news over here. On Friday, we acquired the Farm AV. So very big news, and possibly one that's got people going, hang on, aren't those guys a services and rep firm? And the people that are based in EMEA quite possibly don't know what a rep firm is. So, Chris.
Yes.
In the US, everybody knows what reps do and what disties do, but it's a pretty alien idea to us in Europe and also APAC, or certainly Australia and New Zealand. Can you just tell our European viewers what is a rep firm?
Sure. A rep firm.
What's the difference?
So a rep firm is a company that comes in and basically augments your sales team, right? If you have an area, for example, in New York City, there's a lot of rep firms in this space. The idea is you have one person who is your manufacturer's salesperson, but you can augment that by having this additional staff of people that you bring in via contract to kind of just help represent your brand. Now, you are hired by the manufacturer as a rep firm to sell the product. It's a little bit more than just selling. Some of these rep firms go above and beyond. They will help with the marketing. They do events. They do trade shows. They go and do road shows with your product. The idea is that they're reporting back to the people at the manufacturers all the data that they're collecting and basically putting out there. They're opening up opportunities, leads that the salespeople that are, the company that maybe one person can't handle, especially if you have a hot product and you need to do be at multiple places in multiple areas, or if you have a vertical, for example, some of these rep firms can specialize in certain verticals. Some are into broadcast, some may be able to specialize in audio or higher ed. So you find a rep firm that you're good and comfortable with, you hire them, and they, the wild part about it is rep firms work with us, right? Yeah. So the Farm is somebody that we've known for quite a while, and it's a company that actually has worked with us because as a distributor, we're distributing products that they obviously are selling depending on the brand. They were, for example, when I was at Barco many moons ago, they were a Barco rep. So as a Barco rep firm, they were coming to Starin to get product shipped out based on the sales that they were making. That's the pretty simple way of putting it. There's a lot of layers that go into what the Farm does in terms of not just being a rep firm, but their services, which sets them apart. It makes them unique and made it a very interesting acquisition because the services part is a growing business for Midwich and for Starin. So to bring in a company who knows what they're doing on the services side of it is awesome. So
these guys are experts when it comes to value add services. So that's really exciting for us. And I think that one huge message to take away for the channel, wherever you are, is that nothing changes. So, both of our AV businesses or core AV businesses in the US are super successful, and that will continue. So as of right now, nothing is different in terms of how you interact with these two companies. Longer term, the market's changing, and isn't it a really great position for us to be in, to have both the distribution and the rep firm approach in terms of how to take products to market? And longer term, for vendors and for customers, it really gives broader choice of how people want to work with us in North America. And I think the group have been on a real learning journey, because the US market is very different to our HQ land and, immediate, more sort of closer countries in Europe. So this is very exciting. And I think the first time that we'll all be able to formally get together is at ISE, which is only next week. So I got an email this morning. I don't know if you did too, Chris. I think quite possibly, because it came from Innovate. And the opening sentence is, 1 week to go. The excitement, and then in brackets, or is it dread, is palpable at this point. That really resonated. Like, how it's come about so quickly. It feels like we're going next week, and I have not had time to achieve January yet. So it's just far too quick. But we're going to try and stick to an order of show today, which we haven't done for a long time, and we've gotten really good at
waffling. I got 20 bucks that says we go off the rails very quickly.
100%. So number one on the agenda was announce the farm. Number two is to tease that we still have another announcement to come from the group before ISE, but we are saving that one for the morning of the show. So if you're interested and intrigued, log on and watch out for our socials, or Chris's socials, on Tuesday the 30th before show doors open. So we are in Hall 3, stand, I think I'm getting this right, R150. Oh no.
Up there, 3R150. We're good.
Perfect. Thanks, Kerry. So that's where you can find us. And let's go ahead and just briefly discuss what we think the sort of themes of the show are going to be. And then that should lead us to bringing in our first guest quite nicely. So I'm expecting, no surprise here, lots of AI. But I'm not convinced that all of it is going to be particularly useful. So for me, this is going to be the year, we had little pockets of AI dotted about. Some of it was really cool, Huddly Crew and others. But for me, there's a lot of people that seem to have started to invest in AI engines, either through acquisition or just collaborative working. And it feels like everyone is throwing ideas out to see what sticks. So we may see quite a lot of pointless product. And because there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, right? But it's not necessarily needed. It's cool that you can do it, but is anyone going to spend money on that? So I think this is the year of seeing quite a bit of that. Like, yep, that's great, that's cool, it's experimental, but no, that's not relevant to my projects right now. My second big theme, sustainability. So last year, Samsung, Sharp NEC, LG had a bit of a focus on it as well, and a bunch of others, Shure are quite active in this space and so on. We're telling their sustainability stories, really focused on improving carbon footprint and reversing climate change. There's a lot more names to add to this list now. I think Vestel have got a new range of screens that are coming out that are, again, aimed at being more sustainable in terms of the energy use, etc. We're going to see tons of this. And there's quite a lot to look out for in terms of events as well, and what's going on at the show that you can tap into to learn a bit more about how we think this is going to change our space. And my final one, which leads perfectly into our first interview with our guest, is the battle of AV over IP. Now, I really hope that in 2025, I'm not talking about this anymore, because it's boring, because we've been going on about this, I think, for 7 years now. It's
maybe more.
AV over IP is going to be another big thing at the show. It is going to be big, and it's going to be everywhere. Oh my goodness, how saturated can an area become? But it's not just saturated by brands, it's saturated by different ways to achieve the same thing. So we invited an expert, because in the audio world, there was not so much choice. There has been really one clear winner for a very long time. So we thought the best thing to do was to speak to Audinate. So welcome, Frank Padikkala from Audinate. Hopefully Frank's there. Yay!
There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Frank, you're coming to ISE this year, right?
Yes, I am. First ISE.
Perfect. And can you tell our viewers a little bit about what they can expect from Audinate and on your booth this year?
So I have to read this because we're gonna be in Hall 3, R730. I had it written down because I didn't want to forget. So I think the intro that you gave is very appropriate for the conversation that we're gonna have today. As you know, Audinate has for long had a significant market share in terms of the audio over IP market. And, you know, I always say this, Audinate was not the first audio over IP platform. There were ones that came before us. I think the themes that made Audinate successful, if you ask a Dante user 5 years ago, like, what did you like about Dante? I think the common refrain that you hear from everyone is that it just works, right? There is a simplicity of application that people would like, because that's the audiovisual industry. Although we are very tech focused and very engineering driven, at the end of the day, the techs in the field who are implementing these things, whether it be a live event or a broadcast or a commercial space or a school or a higher ed facility, it doesn't matter. They still want that simplicity. And so when you replace the standard cabling with the Ethernet, we just wanted it to work, and audio worked. Now, again, our focus this year is going to be on video. Audinate over the last couple of years has done significant strides in terms of what our audio offerings are. And I think the themes that made audio successful is going to be applicable to our video side of the conversation as well. We are going to be scalable, and we're going to be flexible. And I think that's the key as far as video platforms are concerned, because again, there are competing technologies, but at the end of the day, what is it that you're really trying to do? You want to make sure that as you're installing these things, the installers have an easy time. Can you manage them? Can you monitor them? Can you make sure that things are fixed in the right time? And that's kind of what we're doing, which is why, you know, we're kind of trying to take the conversation away from over IP, because we've done that so much. I think it's more critical to look at this as an ecosystem. Like, what is your platform? What are you trying to build here? And which is where conversations like the management platforms, the operating system of your AV network, that's where we're trying to drive this conversation towards.
Yeah. What would you say?
Definitely want the ecosystem that is more.
Go on, Chris.
You're definitely going for more of an ecosystem that is open, as opposed to, you know, a walled garden.
Absolutely.
That is the big difference. And I think when everybody talks and says the term AV over IP, the first thing that comes to mind is it has to be in my system, right?
Correct.
And I think that is the bigger difference, is that the conversation needs to shift from, you know, my proprietary stuff to the more open architecture and stuff like that. I think that is ultimately the end game where everybody wants to be. Agree, Jenny? That's the Shangri-La, I guess, of it all.
I mean, if anything, the supply chain taught us is that the more you try to, you know, restrict platforms, you're losing options. And what has happened because of that is that you've had a technology shift for many organizations. So people who were comfortable doing XYZ as their products did not get XYZ, and they had to pivot away and learn new things and learn new skills. I don't think that's ever going to be the future. The future of AV is in interoperability, and that's one of the things that made the audio and the video platforms that Audinate offers successful. We guarantee that third-party interoperability between manufacturers. So if you were to pick a video manufacturer A who has this particular product and somebody else who is compatible, it doesn't matter that they're two different manufacturers serving two different markets, having completely different applications. You can have them together on the same IP network. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's critical.
Yeah. Do you think, so you said that there were other options, but before Dante, when it comes to networked audio, and that's quite an interesting point, I guess, of can we match up what we're experiencing now in video to what was experienced then in audio? So let's throw all this out there. JPEG 2000, H.264, 265, IPMX is flooding my inbox at the moment. SDVOE probably has the most members and is a decent marketing machine, certainly. Now, Dante, and that's without me going into NDI and moving over and looking at what we already had in the broadcast space, specifically for video. Is it the same? And we just have forgotten what we went through in the audio world, or is it me, or does this feel worse? Does this feel like there are so many options? Everybody wants interoperability, but people keep bringing out new common standards. Why aren't we all making more of the single common standard, whichever one it is? And if you're going to tell us, yes, it does feel the same. Do we think then that Audinate entering this space ends the race? I know you're going to.
I would hope so. I mean, we're not trying to end technologies. We're trying to make sure that everybody has options, right? Yeah. And that's always been Audinate's principles. Even as we were building Dante, we have, like I said before, the audio part of it. We've had so many manufacturers out there, close to 500 different manufacturers of 4,000 plus products out there. The interesting part about the video conversation is the adoption rate that we're seeing is far more faster than what we saw on the audio side, like close to 40 manufacturers, 60 products coming out. So there's a lot of adoption happening. But our principle towards this is we are not out there to make sure that we become the one name, but at the same time, we want to make sure that customers get what they want. And which is why even on the audio side, although, because of our significant presence, we don't shy away from talking standards. Like we are compatible with AES 67. We work with SMPTE. We have found ways for people to be able to interop with those technologies. So if and when there is a market demand for us to operate with anything out there, that's what our R&D team does best. We're trying to make sure that our customers, as those questions come to us, will keep answering them. But today, I do hope that there will be some resolution to this. It didn't look great in the past. I'll be honest. The plethora of codecs out there, the 500,000 different ways of doing things. I think everybody was trying to come out with the best product. And I think the best product is a term that is purely determined by the user experience, right? And that is what should drive these conversations. And so it almost becomes a conversation of taking it away from the technology and making sure how easily can you implement this. Are your needs met? And that is what drives the design of the products. So I think working there.
Frank, I take notes during this call, and you won 10 points for using plethora in a conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Word of the day.
I want to make sure I'm awarding the proper points.
I appreciate that.
Heard
I'm
plethora
trying to go away
since
from the typical, cliches.
Absolutely. I quickly ran through a dictionary, and yes, I used that in my SATs back in high school.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the use of plethora in a sentence.
I love it. I love it.
Frank, you guys are a bit different to other exhibitors at the show. I mean, you could say the same for us. We don't really have product on our stand. Exactly. It's a hospitality space. We're there to meet people because our partners are doing a good enough job of showing off their products. But unlike most who are there to meet end users and integrators and consultants to learn about the products, spec the products, sell the products, you've got a whole bunch of customers that are also exhibiting who potentially then, are customers of your technology. What's the objective for Audinate in exhibiting at ISE? What do you hope to achieve this year?
So I guess the good thing, and I think you can agree with this and appreciate the beauty of this, is that when you're not targeting a group of people, you can target everyone, which means you can talk to anyone, right? So yes, our booth is there for all your engineers, your end users, your integrators who come by and say, how can we implement this? How can we do this? And we have the full range of questions, all the way from how do I Dante, which is, I will assure you that happens at least a couple of times during any trade show, all the way up to in-depth technical conversations. And that's what we do at these events. We bring in our sales team. So everybody has their marching orders, depending on what your role is. If you're OEM focused, we're talking to the manufacturers. But people like myself who work on the solution side, all we do is talk to end users and customers and, integrators and engineers. So, we're trying to give everybody value by coming to an event and learning more about the Dante solutions. But we also make sure that we highlight our partners. So every year, as you come by an Audinate booth, you're going to see our our amazing wall of fame where, you'll see our new products and all these things talked about. We try to go and partner up with other booths as well. So it's a fun experience. I mean, we're talking to everybody. It's going to be a lot.
As a veteran of trade shows, not just obviously this being your first ISE, but you've been to, I saw you at NAB, I see you at NAB East, I see you at Infocom. You do the try. This is a Frank Padikkala question. What, at the end of the day, would be a successful show for Audinate when this is all said and done?
I think at the end of the day, if you're able to be remembered by at least one person, I think that's a successful show for me. If I get an email at the end of the show saying, hey, we met at X show, can we have a conversation about this? I think that's great, because people are seeing a couple hundred, 10,000, 20,000, whatever numbers you're expecting at IC. And
my friend, you've never walked into the circus that is ISE.
I know.
It's a controlled circus.
Right.
It is massively.
If I'm remembered, or if Audinate's remembered, I think our goals are met there, and that's the point of the show for us, to make sure that there's visibility there.
Awesome.
So before we say goodbye to Frank, because he's on the show, I have to address this, Chris. I'm sorry, Frank. What year was Dante named? Like when did you come up with it? Like when was it decided?
Oh God, I remember this, and somebody up the corporate chain is going to say, Frank, you should have remembered this. 2004, 5, I think. Do not quote me. This is live, so I know somebody's
Chris,
already heard it.
How old is your son?
21, going on 22. So I technically have the trademark. I'll see you in litigation, dude.
It does mean that you're not like the big AV super fan that some people maybe think you are. So for those who don't know, Chris's son is called Dante, and I've always hoped
you should run with that though. Yeah. It's like, there you go.
You want it to be dedication to the industry, but by the sounds of it, it's not.
I'm either dedicated to the industry or I'm dedicated to Italian poets. I mean, it's one of the two, right? God, what are we in a circle of hell? I mean, come on now. For those that have not read the Divine Comedy, please go for that. It's an interesting read.
Brilliant. Anyway. Frank, thanks so much for joining us. Can we just once again, can you let everybody know your hall and stand so they can come and find you at ISE?
We're in Hall 3, R730. Or you come through to meet the entire Audinate team. We have a lot of people coming in. I'll be there too. I'm Frank Padikkala. I'm a senior technical sales engineer. Our entire engineering team will be there as well. So have fun. Looking forward to meeting everyone there.
Thanks for joining us,
Frank. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Was it my job to tell him that his booth is nowhere near ours, though it says 3R7 and ours is like 3R150? But his first time, he's going to be lost in Hall like X looking for us.
The amount of time wasted. So I know we said no for safety reasons to Heelys last year. I honestly have been looking at those suitcases that have the fold down scooter this year to see.
You see me rolling through the airports, I guess. Listen, the Heelys were controversial last year. This year's topic of conversation and controversy will be the print your own badges. I can't wait. That is going to take over of all your predictions. That is going to take over the airwaves.
It's not a thing now, though, is it? So, so initially we were all told you must download the app. I have done this, by the way, because I actually probably don't need to, because I'll be at the show on the Monday where there won't be any queues, but still. So you should be downloading the ISE app, sending yourself an email of your badge, basically, to then print out your badge on paper at home, or I guess at the hotel. And then you arrive at the show with that, where you can collect your lanyard and cover. This should mean that you can gain access to the show quicker. However, There were a few press articles over the last couple of weeks raising major concerns that people would forget to do this, and were all the hotels in Barcelona ready for everybody going back to them going, print my badge for me, please? And I think I've seen an article, Mike Blackman has addressed this and promised that there will be the ability to print a badge on site. But I feel that we have been warned. And I think if you haven't printed your badge, then you probably lose the right to be annoyed if you're stuck in a queue. It's my take on the situation.
My black and white laser printer would be great when they're looking for color. I'm going to be so incognito at this show. Be awesome. I'm going to wear a fake mustache, like with the handlebars. That, and I have a black and white badge. You'll never know where I'm coming from. Like, who is this guy? Is he who does he work for?
It doesn't feel right because it's not a sustainable option, and maybe it's a bit vain, but the printers, like the thermal printers that print the badges out when you enter, they do a much better job than me folding up a piece of paper. So I'm going to go.
Never seen my Christmas wrapping.
I think people are going to judge me. I want the printed badge, so I'm going to go get one because it's going to look smarter. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? We're in the world of tech, and here we are moaning because we can't have our paper printed badges on the shiny paper.
We have yet not acknowledged our guests here, and one of our comments here from Ifat says she's got her badge ready, and it's not really a big deal. Come on. Would she not be prepared? Absolutely. And she knows how to fold. I can't wrap a gift, let alone fold a badge. So I'm going to have to go to Ifat and say, please help me out with this. But we'd like to welcome Luke and Noel and our new coworker, Kelly Perkins, to the conversation, who is actually joined. And if you have any questions regarding our farm,
send them to Kelly.
She's the person. Kelly's the right person to talk to, right? But unfortunately, like you said, we wanted to kind of break the news, but Dan Farisi's got like these quick thumbs and got that stuff out like immediately. Go figure. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on the chat, and please put in your comments and stuff. We do see it, and we will be. And Mr. Southern is on the line, the fanciest dressed man in the business. Man, the guy's got some style. I wish I can rock a 3-piece suit like he can.
So
it's not going to happen anyway. Yeah.
Shall we speak to our next guest? So we last year we had the European version. This year we've got the American. This is the brand. This is the company who always make a big splash, who always have crowds of people in front of their presentations at the show. And what's amazing to me is that if we went back, 5-6 years or a year or so before COVID hit, they didn't even exist at the show to us. You know, they might be present on other people's stands, but maybe just a small booth somewhere. Now probably one of the biggest that you'll find at the show. So we're going to speak to Microsoft. We're going to speak to Jimmy Vaughan.
Can we put up like an advisory warning before? Jimmy is from Jersey, talks super fast. Producer Carrie needs to turn on the captions right now because Jimmy at 100 miles an hour, when he is on the downhill, you're going to get 10 pounds of information stuffed into a 5-pound bag in about 2 seconds.
That's what people come for.
You've been warned, folks.
Welcome.
And there he is.
But here's the problem, guys. I tried to print my badge and it says I don't have tickets to the show. So I got to find somebody. I got to find somebody quick too.
Well, I'm going to have 2 badges, so you can be Jenny Hicks.
I need to get in.
I know a guy, Jimmy. I know a guy. We got you.
Chris, we're from Jersey. I know a guy. I need that New Jersey tuxedo, otherwise known as his tracksuit.
Yes,
I have to get to the show. So if you see me standing outside, maybe I can get in under somebody's name. Who knows? But I need to find a guy. I need to get in.
I was told if I show up in a tracksuit, I won't even be allowed inside the Fira because mine was like I had a velour one. It was like multicolored. It was really sharp. Right out of The Sopranos. It was awesome. I felt like I was working out on The Sopranos.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to be
deported from Spain for walking around like that.
But this was a debate that Michelle and I had earlier on. I'm coming in sneakers this year. I'm coming in hot with sneakers. No dress shoes, no nothing like that. I'm coming with sneakers. Why? Because I think with Frank, he doesn't understand how big this hall is.
Yeah.
And being there for the last 17 years, I've attended every single ISE. I understand how big it is. and you guys were talking about the Heelys, and I wish Bird would put some of their stuff inside of the arena so that we could rent those and just go through. But you can't get through the hallways.
Nope.
You can't get through the hallways.
Yes, that's one of those shows. Like I said, we should have warned Frank, but I think, letting Frank explore on his own. Nobody told me, and I was like, "What? Where?"
Right?
That was in the days of Amsterdam, where I was lost in a tent outside. If
I
Frank
miss
takes the wrong
Amsterdam.
turn, he'll end up in Madrid inside that hall. So,
Yeah.
good luck, Frank.
Yeah.
We'll put a GPS on your phone. We'll find you someday on maybe by Saturday. We'll find you. Anyway, Jenny, I've taken it up. Let's go back and stop going off the rails.
Let's get on the rails, right?
Do you know where you guys can be found at ISE?
I am the worst representative because when Frank said it, I said, I don't have that information. I'm not sure, but I do know I can give people a couple of things. So last year we did a big thing. They gave me a microphone and they said, "Hey, Jimmy, go," right? And one of the things that I want to tell everybody, there's a guy at the Microsoft booth who his only job is to make coffee for everybody. He's a fabulous barista, right? So every morning I would show up to the booth and this guy would come and he'd say, "Hi, hello, Mr. Jimmy. Here's your cappuccino," right? Like that's what I need. 20 minutes later, they handed me a microphone, and to Chris's point, you just can't stop. So when I got the microphone and I started doing things, they wanted to bring people to the booth. They wanted to do things. I don't have a problem with being that guy and sort of talking about Teams rooms, talking about everything that is Microsoft, and going out and sort of bringing people in. We scanned more people last year than we have in any other year that Microsoft has attended, and this year we're going to go a little bit bigger. We have more sessions actually planned at the booth at myself, Michelle, all of the Microsoft PTSs, which are the technical specialists, will be doing sessions, and we're doing it with some of the engineering people who write the code and make the decisions about what we're actually doing and where we're going. So it's going to be great. We're also going to a bunch of partner booths, but the Microsoft booth is going to be 2 levels this year. So I figured like we raise it up a little bit because it's one level of meeting rooms, and then you've got another level where we can hang out and do some things. And then you've got the floor where we're going to actually do these stages. So I'm hoping to see a whole bunch of people. I'm hoping everybody sort of comes around and says hi to us.
I was just handed a note by my assistant. She's telling me
now yelling at you.
She's now yelling at me to read it. Okay, I got it, Molly.
Yeah.
You're at 2P700.
2P700.
Not that I know whether that is, because every year that I go, I'll be honest with you, you have to get your bearings down from where you walk in. I will never go in a different entrance. I think there's 2 different entrances. You always pick, and this might be a thing for Frank, you pick one entrance, you figure out where your stand is, and you know exactly where to go.
Copy,
and that's
paste, repeat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll be good. So let's get into it. Jenny, hit him with the hard question.
So I think it's the biggest question, right? That most people are going to be at least thinking about asking you guys. What can we learn about Copilot from Microsoft at the show?
I have a thing, Chris knows this, I say Copilot, because he can't get through a Microsoft session without talking about it. It's like, it's written in, but I want to let everybody know, because we have recently, I think it was last week, we actually reduced the entry into Copilot. We removed that you have to purchase 300 licenses, and now it's really open to everybody. So you can just do one. And that's one of the great things, because myself and some of my colleagues, we've been using it for almost a year now internally. And when you know about large language models, when you know about how all of this AI is integrated and trained and learned, we're seeing this go unbelievably fast right now. The amount of things that we do with Copilot and with some of our AI on the back end of things inside of Microsoft is unbelievable. Microsoft is a data-driven company. It's unbelievable how much data there is, and to have something that you type in, a prompt, and you that's one of the things that I think everybody needs to learn is prompting. Prompting is important, because when you type in a prompt and you learn with this language model about what your outcome wants to be, you can get anything that you want. And I'll give you a perfect example. The other day I was in Outlook, and Chris knows this. You go away for a couple of days, you get thousands of emails and everything else. What I wanted to do was I wanted to create a rule, because when I came back from being away, I didn't want to see all these distribution lists. Now, what's the one thing that's in the distribution list? It's the unsubscribe. So what I did was I asked Copilot, can you make a rule to put everything that has an unsubscribe button into this folder? Don't mark it as red, don't do that and everything else, but put it into this folder. That way, when I came back, I knew that the emails that I was going to see were the important ones and not just from distribution lists that I subscribed to and everything else. Somebody like me would have had to look at Outlook, look where to go, create the rule, maybe even look it up on YouTube and things like that. But to have that right in Outlook itself, where I typed it in and said, yeah, would you like this rule to be created? 3 seconds, done.
I kind of like that defense mode we can build in with the Copilot. Like I know, I have a couple targets of people. Stop emailing me, those of you that are out there, because now I'm going to set up a Copilot defense mode, and you're not getting past my moat. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's so many productivity benefits and on the Office 365 side that are really obvious to me. So, for example, Avixa each year, when they produce their IOTA report, it comes out in a PowerPoint format. I think this thing is like 150 slides. So the ability to say, find me every reference to the UK specific to displays. Oh, brilliant. And then, all of that can just get farmed out to people. You haven't got to do all of this prep work of cutting things up. You can just hand over those instructions. It's genius. But what I guess is going to be the biggest impact from Copilot for AV is really in Teams, because most of our manufacturers who are playing in this space are providing hardware to support Teams rooms or bring your own meeting. And so I can only see good here, because in my head, once you've done what you need to do to set up Copilot correctly, and that's a process that the Midwich Group are going through at the moment. I'm very excited, but I'm having to wait, and I get the reasons why we're waiting for go live with Copilot. But actually, once this has the wide adoption that it's going to see, you need this in every room you're using, because even your in-person meetings where there is no remote joiner, this is a great tool. And one of the things that I find most interesting is the ability to maybe go back and see if someone objected to an idea in a meeting. That is invaluable, because you miss stuff when you're on a roll and talking, and maybe you didn't notice people's responses, or actually that it felt like everyone agreed with you, but somebody in the room didn't. Are you gearing up for that, Jimmy, that this actually sort of almost accelerates the use of UC in rooms at the same level that we saw COVID do?
100%. I mean, here at Microsoft, we've seen triple-digit growth in Teams rooms year over year. I mean, it's really been phenomenal, but we know why. Conference rooms are hard. They're not easy to do, but Microsoft Teams rooms really works in that flow from your personal device to that meeting room. So when I'm just thinking of audio and video, all right, I can outfit anything that I want. But when I think about the AI needing to understand not only what was said, but who said it, because there's a lot of context around who said it. I can tell you, I haven't taken notes inside of meetings for almost 6 months now. And the reason why is because what actually happens inside of the meeting and after the meeting is you get a full recap of everything that was said, who said it. Now, imagine walking into a conference room and just having everything attributed to that anonymous conference room. You don't know when your leadership actually said something. You don't know who said Jimmy Vaughan needs to do something. That's what's important. When my leadership says something versus a colleague or somebody that might just be giving notes or something like that, there's an importance to that level of understanding who said it. So we've got to do this, and we've got to do this right inside a conference room. I see so many people sort of debating, well, we'll just put in a camera, or we'll do this, and I'll go into this a little bit, but bring your own device where you plug in and you go through it. We know that bring your own device is a very popular room system. So what did we do as Microsoft? Well, we said, all right, we can't fight this. We know that not everybody can get a Teams room into the rooms quickly, but we know that BYOD seems to be a popular way. And you can call it BYOD, you can call it bring your own meeting. Now, Microsoft is a data-driven company, and I can tell you, years ago, Microsoft itself was putting in these kind of meeting rooms. How did they manage it? The tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of rooms across the globe. They actually did it with an Excel spreadsheet, believe it or not. It wasn't something that was looked at as, oh my God, this is important. But now as we get into this, it's important. Why? When people went back to those rooms, they realized, number one, they weren't working. And why was nobody reporting it? Because there was no way to report it, because you plug in your device. If it doesn't work, what did you do? Well, you went behind the thing, you started to unplug things and so on and so forth. We've seen such an uptick of room usage with the single touch join inside of rooms that it's crazy. So we said, all right, we can do BYOD in a better way. So what we're actually starting to do, and this is coming very, very soon inside of Teams, what we're actually starting to do is when somebody plugs in a device, like I do here, I have my laptop here, I plug in a monitor, I have a speaker, I have a microphone, I have all these different ancillary devices. We're going to give customers the ability to actually attribute that to what's called a resource account or a room inside of Microsoft technology. Now, what will this do? This will start to collect that data that nobody's been looking at. Number one, what is a room? Number two, how many times is it used? Number three, how many times did people not show up? Number four, what is the technology that's inside of that room? I can't tell you how many of the top customers I speak to on a weekly basis, and I say, all right, how many rooms do you have? Well, I don't know. Well, what do these rooms look like? Well, I don't know. What's your standard deployment? Well, I don't know. We're data-driven, and we want to help our customers get to that place. So by helping them define these rooms, we're going to better give them the idea of what is their ecosystem, and probably give them the idea, this is a great place to invest in a Microsoft Teams room. You might not want every space to be a Teams room, but if you don't even know how your users are using those rooms or scheduling those rooms, you can't make a decision on the budget that's there. So we'll give you that data, then we'll give you the return on investment for what you've actually spent on that room. So there's a lot of things that are happening. You're going to see more at ISE. Come to the booth, because I'm infamous for leaking NDA stuff. And when I'm talking to the engineering team, myself and my documented best friend Ilya Bookstein, it's dangerous. Michelle says, you can't talk about that, and immediately we go to town.
Gary, please put that footer note about us not being responsible for anything that Jimmy says.
Right? But there's a lot of things happening. I wish that I could sum it up in just, hey, this is what it is. But you're going to see us at our partner booths. You're going to see us even at our AV and MRPP partner booths. We're doing a few events with them where we're going to start talking about why the benefits of having these AV partners is beneficial to the customers. The idea that you can put it in yourself shouldn't be a thought process when you're doing over 10, maybe even 20 rooms. You should think about, all right, I do need a partner. Why? Because, all right, if I'm going to use owner furnished equipment, maybe that display doesn't turn on and off with CEC the right way. Maybe the connection that I thought was going to the network, maybe it's not there. And, oh, well, I'll do wireless. No, let me tell you about the lack of why wireless won't work for a room system. Let me tell you why an in-room PC might not be the best option for you. Let me tell you why this camera solution actually has some benefits for the room type that you want to do. And let me tell you why this furniture is even more important to the remote people, so that we have that engagement. You see here, I sort of have that camera right above, but why am I mounting the camera below? A lot of people go in and say, all right, I'm just going to put this camera right on top of the display, and then I get that bowling alley view. But the people that are remote don't get that sense of feeling like they know you. Chris, I'm from Jersey. I talk with my hands all the time. You got to see me talking with my hands. Then you feel the inflection. And if I really want to get it out, I sort of take out the megaphone and go that way as well.
That's how Jimmy orders pizza on Fridays.
Is the megaphone coming to ISE?
The megaphone that I've been asked to take it. I don't want to take it to ISE. They're going to give me a whole microphone system. And believe me, I do the whole thing where, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. And then
Jimmy,
people
I'm down with that, Jimmy. I saw Stone Temple Pilots. I know Scott Weiland used to sing through a megaphone. It can be done.
Correct.
Now, customs may give you a hard time getting through with a bullhorn, but you'll be okay. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
So I think one of the, it's going to be such a hot topic. And the biggest thing for me is not even really just what Copilot can do. It's how it's going to change our customers, the AV industry's customers, predominantly. And so, we encourage everyone to get to the Microsoft stand, hunt out Jimmy after he's had his cappuccino, Put down the
But I will say,
megaphone.
I will say one thing. I will say one thing, because when we're talking about Copilot, we're talking about generative AI, and there is different AI that actually happens. You know, one thing that I'm hoping I'm going to have Jack and a few of the people from Microsoft Designer, which is one of our AI things where you can type in and it generates an image. You know, I'm hoping to have one of those people on a show very soon, so that we can talk about what is prompting, how is prompting actually generating the image, why are these prompts better than this prompt, and so on and so forth. But I think one thing that you're going to see at ISE, and I hate this, is everybody wants to be AI. And you've got to determine what is their AI. Don't just use the buzzword of artificial intelligence. Like I said, there's different ones. You know, we can use AI to craft video. We can use AI to craft audio. There's all this idea of deep fakes out there as well. Copilot is a generative AI where you actually have what's called a large language model, and you're training it against your data specifically. And that's one of the reasons why ChatGPT, you know, I've got all these different sections that I do. I have a social media bot that I actually type into. I have actually a vacation bot that I type into. And believe it or not, I have a food bot that I type. I'm a large man, Chris. I like my steak. I like my my sushi and everything else. And I do type in for, hey, I have this type of fish. What's the kind of sauce? And can you give me a recipe for it? You know, there's all of those kind of things that we can do with generative AI. But I think you're going to see a lot of boosts try to jump on that bandwagon when they might not be actually under an AI umbrella. And it's just like, all right, well, we're choosing this over this, and it's not really that thing. So be careful of that buzzword AI, and know that when you're partnered with Microsoft, we're going to ask you to do a lot of this AI and hold you to it.
Yeah, this is this year, Jenny. I know AI is one of your hot topics, but it's very much. I will say that this is very much a schoolyard AI battle, right? Where my AI is better than yours, and mine's shinier than yours, and there's just everybody's barking the same thing. Everybody's posturing and trying to, you know, basically say that theirs is better. But unfortunately, they're not all playing with the same AI, nor are they arguing that in the same conversation. In some cases, you're talking about pro versus very, very, very amateurish in that case. So it's a very interesting time that we're going into in the AI discussions, because it's moving from buzzword to show me the money and what it actually does and what it is. And some of these folks that have just used it as a marketing buzz are now.
Or
I think we saw it at CES,
automation
Chris.
as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So some of it isn't AI. And
Correct.
I think that that buzzword thing has really happened, hasn't it? Sort of, you know, but actually what we call AI today, in generative AI, if we went back 5-6 years, they wouldn't have allowed us to call that AI because it's machine learning. So we do this now particularly with the English language, with a lot of words. We decide that we can redefine what they mean in many walks of life. And then, you know, we're going to change the definition, and now we're going to use this word in this way or this term in this way. And I think automation is one of those. So I don't doubt that we will see tons of automation at ISE. It follows the consumer product land, doesn't it? Of set it up yourself, plug and play, etc. Fine. We're used to that. Then we've got generative AI. And I think this is probably where we're going to see the most useful applications to us. And then there's a whole bunch of some generative AI as well that maybe is where that, yes, you've created something really cool or you've used it in a cool way, but is it necessary? Is it pointless right now? And that for me is the year that I think we're in. We're going to see a lot of it at ISE, and we're definitely going to see a lot of it at Infocom. And we've already seen a few questionable products at CES that I can't get my head around what they're for, but they exist. It's very cool. It's like Voldemort. Sorry to make it Harry Potter. You know, he did great things. Terrible, but great. And this year it'll be that AI is really clever.
Well,
Irrelevant.
It's unbelievable when you see it. Actually, here there was a leadership summit here at Microsoft, and one of the leaders actually brought up because we use AI for coding, a lot of coding. And one of the leaders brought up that they've done 5 years of development in 3 months, because what they're able to do with AI and understand that this coding that you used to do. I mean, GitHub is a huge place that actually you type in right now and it will pull code for you. Well, not only will it pull code for you, if you've got bots that actually connect to all of your people that you know and things like that, you can have it actually written in one language and just ask AI, can you translate this to, from Python to C#, whatever you want to do. And it understands all of this. And it does get you 95% of the way versus you having to type this out in your brain, understanding it. If you just want to drop in code, it's there. So the idea of a lot of things actually being written with codeless AI is something that you're going to see. And this isn't a pipe dream. This is why everybody at Microsoft sort of says this is a transformative time in everybody's world, because it's almost like the internet that was in the 90s. Remember when people said the internet won't work? And it won't be here. I mean, think about that. Remember when people
still in AV, by the way.
Yeah, remember when people correct? They're still in AV, correct. But remember when people said, you need buttons on your phone, because who would type without buttons? And all of these things that people said will never happen. I want people to understand AI is here. AI is staying. And if you're not adapting to AI and you're one of these people that say, well, it's going to take over the world and it's really not for me and everything else, I'm sorry, you're going to be one of those that, sort of like an accountant that, well, my skills are in Excel. Well, I don't need you anymore.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you are my guy inside of Microsoft. You're one of the people I will lean on whenever I have a Microsoft issue, question, problem. I've said this before on the show. I need you to write this down on a piece of paper, take it back to your partner meetings, into your actual executive meetings with the big shots. And I'm just going to give you 2 words for AI. I need Microsoft expenses. I need AI to do my expenses as I am traveling. Please hook it up, man. Make it happen.
We have that here. Believe it or not, it's here inside of Microsoft already. When I do, when I charge it on my card and everything else, it actually goes into repository. It knows where I was. It starts to do this, and it prepares the report for me. And
don't tease me with a good time, Jimmy.
Yes.
Don't tease me with a good time.
It will
Come
say,
on, dude.
Chris, would you like me? I will get an email. Would you like me to submit this report for you automatically? And I say yes, and it's submitted. Not only that, since Microsoft, we have a policy here. I know he goes away. We'll continue talking. I'll tell you about it. But not only that, it knows that I sort of submit my cell phone bill every single month. So this month it started creating it, and I've got all of my expenses for the year for my cell phone. It's booked out on the day that it's going to actually submit. I don't have to do anything for it.
Share this with the world.
This can be done.
I'll give you a Nobel for this one.
That's the power. But
we'll figure out the way to get you the Nobel Prize for this, dude.
Chris, that is the power that our partners can bring to customers today. This is done inside of Microsoft tools, and our partner community can build this for organizations.
You had me at hello.
That's what I know. Listen,
seriously, dude.
I get a lot of this, and it's automatically done, and it's like this is great. Now, there are challenges. I'm not going to kid you. There are challenges inside of Microsoft still, but AI is helping me actually navigate some of that as well. The amount of data is overwhelming, and this is one thing that we talked about before we actually came online. Anybody that thinks they can just turn on Copilot, please don't. Please don't. Make sure that you're going through that adoption site and make sure that you're looking at the data that you have inside of your organization. And I say that very cleverly because, I'm a tech guy. All right. I'll go to a SharePoint site. I'll lop off the end of it and I'll say, oh, what can I see? Right. And I might stumble on some things that are there. AI doesn't stumble. AI finds it. So when you go to Copilot and you say, can you tell me everybody's salary inside of the organization from top leadership down? And it pulls that information because you saved it in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, or someone in your organization somewhere that it wasn't supposed to be. Well, that now becomes AI's information and it'll return it to the prompt. So you have to be, I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying that happened, but let's just say that happened, right? That's the kind of thing that can actually sort of give you the impression that, oh my God, it's the AI's fault. No, No, you didn't follow your adoption site and you needed to get there. So don't run to AI. Make sure you follow the rules and make sure that you're using Microsoft partners. Again, they've been through this, not only even inside of the conference rooms, but also on the back end. But Chris, for your expenses, I got you.
I've got this.
1 o'clock, Chick-fil-A parking lot. I'll meet you there. Give me the prompt. That's all I need to do.
I've got this image right now of like a bunch of people watching this who are now who are Copilot users, frantically chatbot typing into them like salaries of everyone or everything ever said about me in a negative tone of voice.
Yes.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Jimmy, for joining us. I have no doubt you are going to have a huge audience and queue of people coming to ask you lots of questions about.
I hope you guys come by. I want to see you guys in person. Yeah.
We will stop by. We'll be there for the cappuccinos.
I'll be there for the prompts.
It's so good. I don't know if he's going to have the Microsoft Teams logo, but he puts the Microsoft Teams logo on the cappuccinos. He's so good.
Fancy, dude. You're so fancy.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
So fancy. I don't know if I can handle that.
So,
I know, right?
Everybody, once again, please do visit Microsoft stand 2P700. Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, you, Jimmy.
Everybody.
Okay, so we're usually allowed to run 10 to 15 minutes over. I wrote a long list of stuff. It went down really well last year. So last year, we did a quick list of stuff that we knew was going to be on show or stuff that we've spotted in the press or announcements or through our own research that we're off to go find, as well as, a couple of I'd like to see this. I'm on the lookout for this type products. But first, shall we just quickly talk about AV on Air? Because I think we have maybe 3 or 4 slots left for anyone who would like to record. I think now we're down to the Thursday or Friday, aren't we, in terms of availability, because it's pretty booked up Tuesday, Wednesday. I think producer Kerry has a picture of, there we go. So it's going to look something like this. AV on Air, the studio is in the middle of the Midwich booth. And something that's particularly interesting about it this year is that we will have a technician to record our content, and they will be able to add some graphics over the top or text over the top of your recording. And actually, if there is time left after your slot, you can do a bit of editing with them before they hand over that content to you there. And then alternatively, we can take that back with your edit requests and then send that to you after the show if you've got lots of editing requirements. So it's a level up this year in terms of what we have to offer. So, Chris, you have a little bit of sneaky news that you got from Barco, I think, that may now have actually just gone out to the public as well.
Yes, it did. Breaking news. Barco, the ClickShare company, has decided to, we're getting into the new game. So Barco basically had reached out and signed under NDA and all that stuff to take a look at. They have something really new, really impressive, very un-Barco-like. They are releasing their first video bar. Now, it's not a video bar per se in the standard, hey, it's a camera with a bar. It's got ClickShare. It's built ClickShare inside first and foremost, and then all the other details added to it. So as of today, if you go to the Barco website, you will see that Barco now has released a video bar, which is interesting, coming from a company that has made their name in obviously ClickShare and displays and stuff like that. Now we're focused in on the small room integration, but they've been doing this, Jenny. I mean, they have been partnering up in their strategic alliances and working with other other partners. So they've gone to the companies that have done the microphones and the speakers and the cameras before, but now they're putting it together due to requests from their customers. And I spoke to some folks at Barco as well, and they were getting a lot of requests because of their name of ClickShare. ClickShare is in a lot of conference rooms. ClickShare basically do it all for me, and that's basically the genesis of the whole thing, is that their customers required them to kind of just, hey, can you just do this for me so I can get an all-in-one device from you guys with ClickShare inside, which is what we do and what we use And there you have it. So you'll see it for the first time at ISE at the Barco
It's
booth.
exciting. It's
Yeah, a little bit.
it's an interesting move, right? So they're not the only one, actually. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my dog is desperately trying to get into the office. So my house isn't falling down. He's just scratching at the door. So Barco's decision to do this, given obviously that they have a bunch of partners that, you know, they've gone to market alongside, is an interesting one, because Samsung are kind of doing something very similar. So at ISE, they will hard launch their own content management system. Now, they've always had Magic Info, but Magic Info had a lot of limitations. And I think that it seems, I haven't seen it, it seems that what they will release, which is called VXT, does not. So they are going full content management solution, own signage software to run not just on their own screens, but technically this software could also be run on anyone else's or any other digital signage players. So yeah, a very similar move to Barco. You know, you've had this alliance partnerships for many years, and now actually you're going to go play competitor. I think it's a sign of how mature our market is.
Yep. One of the predictions that I have as far as ISE and what I think is going to be a real standout is, I think last year we all got an ooh and ah about the transparent LEDs. I think that this year there is going to be a better story around them. Obviously, a lot more players are getting into the space. Obviously, what we saw coming out of CES with LG's transparent LED and Samsung and all that, the competition for transparent has moved up. And for folks that have been looking for a reason or an idea, where do I put this and how do I put this into an everyday corporate space, those are going to be more present, I think, at ISE. I can't go into details, but you will see a lot of this evolve. The content that's going into them not only are creative in the sense of delivering messages and signage, but they're also being used to block, give you the room privacy, where in the past you'd have to do some ugly, shower looking fogged up window. Now you can do this using content to an extent, blurring out stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, even film that's being put on some of these things on the background to kind of blur the particular images. Science is becoming a thing. AV folks, it's what our industry is built on. We're actually
scientists.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's wizardry. It's what we do, right? It's making things disappear that shouldn't have been there and appear where they could have. I'm excited to see that. There's a couple other things, Jenny, but that was, now I'll give you an opportunity.
So actually, there's going to be a big transparent screen. Here you go, guys. This is just to prove how live we are. I'm going to have to let the dog in because it's really loud in my ear. One sec.
Look at that. So obviously we both work with assistants. My assistant Molly passed out after she handed me that the paper, the information where Jimmy Vaughan's booth is located. But obviously,
the worst part,
obviously your dog did not get the memo.
Oh, he did not get the memo, and because I've locked him outside, every time he hears me talk, he starts scratching at the door. Whereas whilst you're talking, he's quiet. So I've been muting, and then I start to talk again, and he kicks off. So it's just easier to let him in. Right, because I am about to embark on my very large list of stuff I'm off to see at the show. So there will be a big transparent LED display over the entrance to ISE. So I think this is Muxwave, who actually, they had the really cool like shop window tunnel set up last year, which was a really, really awesome demonstration of transparent use, and also had that volumetric thing going on, you know, where it's got some depth to it, like the art AR HT beamer boots. Yeah. I think you played in one of those.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So that's quite cool. And I think about time too, right? How many years have we been looking at printed banners out the front of the digital signage tech show? So great to see that we'll be using tech. You've covered off Barco's new release. I think everyone's going to be on the lookout for transparent displays and what we can see there. I have an appointment to see what's new from Huddly Crew. They haven't given me too much detail, but I know that there's a lot of upgrades there to be seen. So get in touch with your Huddly contact because it's in a closed room and you need to book your appointment to go and see that, I think. So I'm quite excited to see that. Silicon Core and I think I'm going to say this right, Vertalis, an AR company. So these guys are doing a joint demo, and they're going to give us an LED demonstration of like multi-view. So if I'm stood one side, I think with some augmented reality glasses or something on, and then Chris was stood the other side, but we're both facing, we'll get different content to view. So we've seen this a lot with sound before, particularly relevant in the museum space, but this is quite interesting. I mean, the day that we can achieve this better without wearable tech, but this is the start of something, and we've got a lot of metaverse style content out there and not a great number of ways to view it. So that's quite interesting. AUO will be for the first time bringing an LED dome. So this is designed for use in simulation. That's quite a big threat to the high-end projection market because they've had a monopoly on this space for a really long time. We've been seeing sort of spherical LED for quite a while before Las Vegas, but this is the first time really I think we're going to see a live simulation application at the show. So I'll be swinging by to have a look at that as well and just see how it compares to projection, which is typically how we would specify. I hope to see drones. I really do, because they're so relevant now to, light drones as opposed to camera drones. They're just so relevant to the live event space, or I think so now. I'm going to go see Visionary AV. What an interesting company in this AV over IP race. They've just done this had this wonderful way of coming up with all the problems that you needed fixing that you didn't realize you needed fixing. And you go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes it much better. And they are really interesting. These guys have their name on the largest AV over IP install in the world at the moment, which is at Resorts World. And they also have encoders on the International Space Station. That's pretty cool. If it's good enough for NASA and all of the other associations in space that use the ISS, I'd say it's probably good enough for us to go check out at ISE. So we've done Samsung VXT, which is interesting. QSys with the Seer Vision acquisition and their speaker tracking. I've seen it on their online webinars. I haven't seen it in the flesh. I'm off to go look at that. And I think they're doing a bit of more of a focus on sort of venue-based stuff as well. Last year, they were quite focused on corporate. So I'm always intrigued to see what they're up to, especially since they hired Chris James, who is a great mind when it comes to AI. So really interesting there. Humley, they were really interesting last year, and I hear they've got some new product releases. They are in the room booking and reservation space. The product that I liked last year was for desk booking. It was really small. Clicked onto the side of the desk, shone green, red, all of the features that you would expect. It just looked really good. E-ink displays, Sharp NEC are the ones that I know of. This is a really logical way to be somewhere between full-blown digital signage and printed messaging, and far more sustainable and eco-friendly as a technology than our usual screens. So yeah, definitely go check that out. That's where I'll be. I'm looking for any USB-C solutions. There are not enough of them. And increasingly, I have devices that have a single USB-C port, which makes it very difficult for me to do my job and charge at the same time, etc. So anyone who's got interesting USB-C solutions, shout me, please. I would like to come and see you. DataPath are setting up a fully operational Atria control room on their stand. I don't think I've really seen this before. We've had people go, look, here's the furniture for your control room. Look, here's a video wall that has content on it that looks like a control room, but actually to sit down, have a real play as if you were in a network operation center. Yeah, that's fun. So you will find me there at some point on Tuesday morning. Shure released the MXA 902, so I'll be swinging by to see what that sounds like and how it likes the sound of me. Then K-Array do lighting. I've seen this before a few years back, but it looks different on the press releases that I've seen here. So it's kind of like a rail or a tracking system, and then the architectural light fixtures come off of it. Looks really slick. Looks like something you'd happily have in your living room. And aesthetics are incredibly important these days. So I'll be off to have a look at that. I think I'm going to say this right. Renkus Heinz are showing Omnibeam. Now, I might be wrong here, but this looks like a competitor to Holoplot. So I'm off to go have a look and see if someone else can achieve what's been achieved at the Sphere, which is very interesting. And I'm hoping Kerry has the picture. D10 hinted at this last year, or showed us some examples of this last year. It was their video bar, but turned vertically. So this year they release a small room solution, which is made up of that and the D10 mate that you can see on the table. And they've got a mounting solution specifically so that you can either have the bar horizontal as we're used to seeing, or make so much sense vertically if you've got a 2-screen setup, so that you get that closer to true eye contact feel. So there's another one to go and check out. Have I missed anything off of my list? Also, does everybody like my pad? It's funny. I think that's it. I think that's my list of go finds.
All right. I have a couple to add that you did not add, because these are things that I have kind of just put off to the side and been wondering, and I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible. You guys want to be impressed with some sort of projector mapping type thing, please go check out my friend Eric Cantrell from 7th Sense Design. I recently saw them at the LDI show. They take projector mapping and do something very interesting in that they picked up a mask. Everything else was blacked out around it. And as they moved and turned the mask, the projector mapping followed and tracked it. So it basically is kind of an inverse version of a person in the little bubble suit. But for projector mapping, really cool. You can please figure out how to use it, but it is impressive. I was looking at it and going, how do you do this? How is that possible? But my buddy Eric Cantrell over at 7th Sense Design can give you the inside scoop. Tell him Chris sent you, and that's it. That's not all I have. The other thing that I have that is of interest, that I'm interested in seeing in the flesh for the first time, Logitech is bringing Project Ghost to ISE, so that is of interest for me, obviously in the UC space in my background. I want to see what that's all about, see if the hype is real. If you want to take a walk with me, go check it out with me. Tell me what it's doing that is cool. I would love to take an end user over there and tell me how would you use it, more importantly, because that is what I do for when I'm not doing this kind of Midwich Live stuff. I'm actually talking to end users, talking to integrators, and trying to figure out how the technology works. So if you want to take a trip over to the Logitech booth and go see what they're doing with Project Ghost, please, let's go. I would absolutely love to escort somebody and figure out what it is that we were doing with that. The other thing that I am obviously interested, you said the name. I think one of the busier booths is going to be the Holoplot booth because of what the fame has come from the Sphere. It's going to be very interesting to see who not only, obviously everybody's going to rush to it to see and find out more about what's going on. I could tell you about what media servers they're using if you'd like. So if you want, hit me up at the Midwich booth and I will go into some detail as far as what the Sphere is using behind the scenes to drive the content on the Sphere itself. But I'm assuming that Holoplot is going to be a busy booth, as well as all the competitors that are coming for that title. So I am a big fan of audio. I have said this before and I will say it again. I believe that audio is probably the safest bet for us to figure out and perfect immediately. So obviously spatial audio is something that we're seeing and hearing about all over the place with UC, but directional audio is going to become more of a thing, not just for museums, especially and I'll tell you one thing that is not part of the conversation anymore, the return to office and all that is kind of already past, in my opinion, but we are finally starting to see the next wave of what the offices are going to be as people exit leases and release in other spaces and redesign it. I will tell you folks, we are a distributor. We sell equipment and we sell a lot of projects and services. But one of the things that we do not make money on as an industry, we do not make money on cubicles. If there are cubicles, that is not our specialty. We do large or small group. More than 2 people is our specialty. The cubicle is just not something that we as an industry really need to figure out, because it's done. It's a handset, it's a computer, and it's a mouse. We get it. There is personal UC things that we should and could be talking more about, and I do believe in that. But from a company perspective, whether you are an integrator, whether you are a rep firm or a distributor, we do collaborative spaces. We do spaces that require more than one person. So I do believe that audio in those office spaces is going to be very, very important, and how that is controlled. It's controlled audio. Let me be specific. It's how the audio is basically going around. I've seen an uptick for us in the conversations with regards to acoustic treatments. Everybody wants something that's cleaner, fresher, better. And it's not just to keep the audio out or in, but it's also to make the audio sound better. Do not forget that acoustic treatments in a space can make the crappiest speaker sound best. And not that I needed to go into what crappy audio sounds like, but you can improve things by adding these type of diffusers into the space to make it sound better. So that is my ISE stuff. You can find me at the booth. Honestly, I want you to tell me. You guys are walking the show. You are talking. You're the heartbeat of what that show is. And if the integrators that are there and the end users, you guys stumble across something cool, me and Jenny are there at the Midwich booth. Come tell us, show us what it is that caught your eye, because we can help make that happen for you. So
we will be running around the show, trying to make sure that we've seen everything possible. There's loads going on this year. There's a plug and play stage for technology startups and investors to go meet each other. So we'll be hanging out there to see if we can see any rising stars that maybe are on the horizon for the industry. And then, there's extra halls and you're going to need your sneakers. So we will be running around searching for everything to pull together a wrap-up show for you, which we will air on the 8th of February. So we're going to get back very quickly, collate all of our notes from the show, and then jump back online to tell you if what we thought we'd see, we saw, and what we liked. So that's it from us.
Oh, wait, I do have something.
You do?
And it's not a press release, but it's something of importance. Y'all know what I do on Sunday. Sunday, I run a little chat on the side. Well, for the first time in ISE, I am actually going to get a couple of people together, use our technology, because we know how to use our own technology. Unlike others, we actually use the technology we sell. We will be recording my first ever AV and the AM video or podcast, which may lead to bigger and better and greater things. So if you follow what I do on Sundays, if you're part of the conversation or curious about what's going on, stop by the booth. I have a recording studio for an hour, and I will be recording some stuff. I have some questions to ask. I want to reveal who AV and the AM in Europe is, because I have told folks this is kind of a side thing. It's apart from what I do for Midwich and for Starin. It's just a conversation that started because of a coffee cup, but it's grown into a community. So if you guys want to show who you are, stop by. I'm going to record a couple things. I'm going to cut up those videos and put them out. And, it's not going to call it a meet and greet, because I don't want it to get out of control, but it may. Just saying.
And also in that recording booth, we'll have the ability to have some subtitles from the audio that's going on behind the screen. So actually you will be able to stop by and read what's being said when Chris is in the studio. Don't think that you can't actually come and semi-watch some of it live, actually, as well as looking out for it afterwards. But we've got a few meetups planned. I think I've spotted Jen Weaver is trying to get everybody.
I don't know. That is still rumor. It's still rumor. We're trying to figure it out, but we just bring your coolest sneakers, folks. That's all I'm going to say.
Mine aren't very cool, but I am taking a step in the sneaker direction. I will be in comfier shoes than in previous years this year. I've finally been broken down. Right. I think we've ticked off everything on the order of show list. So it's time for us to go pack.
Yes. I leave Thursday, and I will see you guys there on Monday when I get there Monday evening. But I will be doing a little extra journey. I may even go see a manufacturer overseas while I'm out there, and you guys will follow along in that journey with me. So not like I hide anything. It's all over my socials. So
For those of you that are attending, please do stop by the Midwich Group stand and
Yep.
find us at ISE. And for those of you that can't make it, we will do our very best to pull together a wrap-up overview of what we saw at ISE, and that will be on the 8th of February. So please join us then.
Yeah. And in closing, I just want to thank everybody who has been chatting on the side. We do see the comments. We appreciate it. We love it. We love the engagement. Just that we've been so, I guess, stuck in our, the blinders have been on. But Dave Hatz, Frank Padikkala as a guest, thank you for coming on and then jumping in on the chat. Star, thank you so much for dropping in on the chat. Steve McIntyre, Erica Carroll, Chris Southern, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in, joining us on the various socials. You know where to find us. We're here trying to get to be more monthly with Midwich Lives. If you like what we do, let us know, because producer Carrie is absolutely going to be keeping us booked if that is what you guys want. So we're here for you. We are run and fueled by the people. So if you guys want us, that's what we show up. We're eventually this is going to be Jenny's full-time gig. She's going to be a show host. No.
That sounds pretty stressful.
It could be, but you know what? We'll make the most out of it. We'll have fun along the way. Jenny, do you have anything in closing, or should I just close this right out?
I think we're good. We can close out, go get packed up, and see everybody at ISE.
Yes, I will see you guys at ISE. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Midwich Live.